Have you ever done an art piece and everything about it just clicked and fell into place? Like you were struggling before and things were harder, and it's not that you hated the process or hated the results of everything you were doing before, it's just that there was just something missing about the other pieces, and then you just do that one piece and it just comes out exactly the way you want it, or in my case, even better. That was this piece for me. I couldn't believe this was what I made when I looked at the finished product. I had spent months of just being okay with my art and liking some stuff when it came to digital. And then now that it's like what I can see in my head is coming out on paper, it's just so cool. I had a breakthrough last year with my traditional art where like 9 times out of 10 I would look at a finished piece and think, whoa, this is good. I've made a ton of progress and the results are really coming through. But with digital art it was a different case. You can look at my recent videos to see my struggles with using Clip Studio Paint and getting into digital art. For this piece, it just worked. The problem with digital art, especially with Clip Studio Paint, is that with paint and stuff, there's a limit on what you can do and what you have, because you can't mix certain stuff together. Like you can't paint acrylic on top of oil, so you have to do oil on top of acrylic if you want to use both. You can't put watercolor on top of acrylic, you have to do it the other way around. But then with digital art, there's just so many options. You have too much control because with traditional art, you can't really control the texture of the brush and the texture of the canvas. You really just have to work with what you have. But with digital art, you have to do everything like that intentionally. And I'm somebody who actually quite likes the lack of control with certain mediums, like with watercolor and charcoal. I just like being surprised with what it does when I see the watercolor mix into each other and stuff. It makes every painting unique, even if I'm recreating an old painting. So the previous pieces that I did digitally and posted, while I did like how they came out, they were me getting used to the new tools that I had. And then I decided to start watching videos on rendering paintings, digital paintings like League Splash Artists, and I started trying to think of what it is I wanted the digital art to look like now that I was getting the hang of it. So, once I did that, I then downloaded a rough pencil for the line art. This is a colored pencil, and I thinned my lines down, because normally I draw with thicker lines, and then I colored the line art, which is not something I did before this piece. I know if you look at the video I did with the Gotter Experiment Part 2, introducing the characters Vito and Fiona, I colored the line art for that, but I actually did that art piece after I did this one with Gracie. So Gracie was the start of this new art style that I'm doing, and I didn't really color line art before. And then I was just doing this, and 2.5 hours later, this piece was finished. I know that sounds weird. Just 2.5 hours? Don't people usually spend like 8 hours doing digital art? Yeah, I don't like spending a lot of time doing any one thing, so I tend to adapt whatever it is I'm doing to be quicker. But in this case, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just drawing. I was just vibing to the music and drawing. This was actually done the day after I did the Civica fan art. I'll link that video. And the difference is so massive. Like, it's just a few hours between finishing the Civica fan art the night before and then waking up the next morning and starting this piece. And I think a part of it is because I used a 3D model for the Civica pose, and I realized I hate using 3D models. They make the poses way too stiff and unnatural. 3D models for poses suck, but 3D models for inanimate objects like the couch I used in the Vita and Fiona piece, and the axe in this piece, and the chainsaw in the piece that I'm doing right now in a video that I will show another time. I haven't finished that piece yet, but those kinds of objects I think the 3D models work well for, but I hate using them for poses. The single best thing I did for my art to see the greatest improvement and the fastest improvement had to be 1 minute gesture drawings. I did that at the very start of my art journey. It's one of the reasons why I think learning art as an adult is actually better than learning as a child. But yeah, it was something that I did. I would only do 10 a day, so 300 at the end of the month, which sounds like a lot, but it's not really. Once you get past the first two, the rest really flow. I usually get tired like around 30, but 10 is like a good warm-up. And I leveled up so fast. I did that for about 3 months very early, and I've started doing it again, so you can see my poses really improving now that I'm doing it even more. And that's what I would do if I had to give one advice to improve your art the fastest. 1 minute gesture drawings, figure drawings, poses, just line of actions, quick poses, sketch daily, any of those places, just do 1 minute gesture drawings, and 10 a day was enough for me to see massive improvement. If I had to pick one more thing, it would have to be the draw box exercises. It improves my line weight and line confidence and my control and my perspective so much more than anything else that I've done. I know people say that gestures and boxes are boring, and people complain about having to draw boxes like it's the worst thing ever. But honestly, I question how much you want to become a good artist if you can't even do these things as a warm-up. Like, it's like people are saying they want to become professional athletes, but they refuse to do any warm-up drills, they refuse to do any accessory work, they refuse to do any stretching, and then they wonder why they suck. So yeah, these things, warm-up, or if I don't know what I want to draw, I'll just do them, and they have helped me so much. It's so much easier to build on a good foundation than it is to unlearn bad habits. I love drawing ellipses now. Just practicing ellipses and lines and boxes and gestures. They make my hands feel so loose and ready for the drawing. If I had to give one last tip, so tip number 3, wrist exercises. Like stretching and crawling, like bear crawls and those warm-ups that gymnasts do on the ground. Yeah, those have made my wrist pain like disappear. In addition to not drawing from my wrist, but that's a whole other story. We're talking about this character that I'm drawing, and I'm just realizing that I didn't introduce her. Her name is Gracie, and she is a part of a story called The Healing Flame. I will leave a link to the summary of that story where I introduce the main characters. She's actually one of the side characters, and she has a romance with a girl named Nora, who I just imagine is just slightly off screen begging Gracie to please put the axe down before she hurts herself, because Nora is a soldier that fought in war and Gracie is not a soldier, not even slightly. She does have a very playful, cheerful side. Nora is also a cheerful person, but she's much more quiet, while Gracie is definitely the bleeding heart of the group, the team mom and everything. And Nora is like that constant anchor. Yeah, I love the two of them. And they were side characters, so I decided to do a side story on, and it was just supposed to be a short story, but now it's over 12,000 words and I'm not done yet. It might go up to like 15 or 16,000 words, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with this story because it's not the main story, and I haven't posted any of the story for the main story yet. So who is really going to be interested in the side characters for this whole world that I'm building? But I also really like the story, and I think it's really fun. Their romance takes place in a situation where they're both in danger. And I'm loving it so much. It's not done yet, like I said. It's mostly done though. That story is mainly about them meeting and getting to know each other after a near-death situation during another near-death situation. So I just love the tension. I've been reading a lot of romance lately, and I decided to try out lesbian romances, and honestly, they're kind of boring. They're either toxic or they're boring. But even the toxic ones are not as toxic as gay romance. I don't read gay romance because I don't understand the appeal of gay romance when it's like everything bad in a straight romance multiplied by 100 and then add in extra SA into it. And just general abusive tendencies. I don't like that. But then sometimes with the lesbian romances, everything is just too nice and there's no tension. So I've just been disappointed in romances lately, okay? So that kind of bled into this story. And one of the reasons why I decided to add in few near-death situations, because I want to write what I want to read. And if I don't see it, I'm gonna write it. And again, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun, so it's not like it's any hardship for me. Now, in general, I find drawing girls to be very hard, and drawing skirts to be very hard, so this piece was a bit intimidating, and I did choose Gracie as the character that I was going to draw for this piece, specifically because I wanted to practice drawing a girl wearing a skirt. But because I was feeling a little intimidated, I put on my headphones and turned up some fast music and just dove right in, and in 2 hours and 35 minutes later, time that just disappeared, I was finished. The flow state feels so good, and I realize that now that I'm getting better at drawing and I'm drawing so much more often, because I draw almost every single day. And by almost every single day, I mean like I would miss one day every 2 weeks or so because I just enjoy drawing so much. I enter the flow state so much quicker and easier than before. My friend once told me that playing the piano for her wasn't fun until she already knew how to play the piano. And it's not the exact same thing with art, because even when it's frustrating, I enjoy it. But it's definitely more enjoyable now that it's easier and I can draw what I see in my head. It's like when you play video games and you have to get a hang of the controls before you can really enjoy the game, even if the story, the art, the music and everything else is attracting you. It's like once you get a hang of the controls, that's when the game starts to really become fun. I did watch Mark Brunet's video on doing backgrounds for characters, and that's what gave me the idea for the background for this. And I do want to try his 4-step coloring method. I haven't tried it yet. I don't like using gradient maps, but I do want to try what he did in that video. I think that fits more towards my style, so I am looking forward to that. Just a little side tangent, I am using a Herion 13-inch canvas tablet that I bought used off eBay for $100. So if you're on a budget, definitely do that. It was the one released in 2020, but it works perfectly fine. It looks brand new. I got a year warranty. It's perfect. Yeah. I recommend it if you are on a budget and you don't want a screenless tablet. This screen tablet is definitely good. So this is Gracie. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to find out more about the story and these characters, I will leave a link to the Healing Flame videos for you to check them out. I have 2 where I talk about the main characters and then the side characters. And I have a sketchbook tour that I recently posted, and I posted a video on the characters for the Gosser experiment. I also posted a video talking about Sevika from Arcane, the best thing to come out of Arcane, and me playing around with some gouache. So I have tons of other videos on my channels and I hope you will check them out. Please remember to like and subscribe and let me know what you think, or if you have any other tips for art, that would be good. I'll see you in another video. Later.